There are moments in life when we look in the mirror and the reflection staring back at us feels incomplete, unworthy, and not enough. This quiet voice inside our heads whispers, "You should be better, you should be smarter, you should be stronger." And the truth is, most of us carry this burden at some point, believing that who we are is somehow less than who we should be. But this feeling doesn't come from who we truly are. It comes from the stories we tell ourselves, the comparisons we make, and the unrealistic standards we hold onto. Comparison is one of the most silent thieves of our joy, and it happens almost without us realizing it. You wake up in the morning, scroll through your phone, and within minutes you are measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel. You see their perfect vacations, their smiling families, their achievements, their confidence. And suddenly the life you once felt grateful for doesn't feel so special anymore. What's dangerous about comparison is that it tricks us into believing we are losing at a game that was never meant to be played in the first place. You are running your own race, yet you're constantly looking at the lanes beside you, wondering why someone else is further ahead, forgetting that their path is not yours. The problem is that we compare our struggles with their successes, our behind the scenes with their edited moments. We don't see their sleepless nights, their heartbreaks, their self-doubt. We only see what they choose to show, and yet we let those carefully curated snapshots decide how worthy we feel about ourselves. It's like looking at the last chapter of someone else's story and assuming our first chapter is a failure. The truth is, comparison blinds us to our own growth. It makes us forget that just a few months ago we were praying for the very things we have today. When you live in comparison, you are constantly chasing, never arriving. You run faster, you try harder, you exhaust yourself, and yet satisfaction slips away like water through your fingers. That's because fulfillment doesn't come from being ahead of someone else. It comes from being aligned with who you are meant to be. Imagine a flower trying to compare itself to the tree beside it. The flower will always feel small, but only because it was never meant to be a tree. Its purpose is different, its beauty unique, its timing its own. The shift happens when you realize that comparison is a choice. You can choose to use someone else's success as proof of what's possible rather than as a reminder of what you lack. You can choose to celebrate others instead of competing with them. You can choose to turn your gaze inward, to measure yourself not by how far you are compared to someone else, but by how far you've come from who you used to be. The moment you stop looking sideways and start looking forward, you free yourself to grow, to shine, and to finally feel enough. Not because you're better than anyone else, but because you've embraced the truth that your path is yours alone. Unhealed wounds from the past are like invisible chains that hold us back even when we think we've moved on. Many of us walk through life carrying words, experiences, or moments that shape the way we see ourselves, often without realizing how deeply they still affect us. Maybe it was a teacher who said you weren't smart enough, a parent who compared you to someone else, or a friend who betrayed your trust. Those moments might have passed, but the emotions they created still live inside you. They become a quiet background noise in your mind, whispering, "You're not good enough." Every time you try to step forward, the truth is, pain that isn't healed gets repeated. You find yourself reacting to situations in ways that don't make sense, because the wound isn't from today, it's from years ago. Someone criticizes you at work, and suddenly you feel like a child being scolded again. A relationship fails, and it brings back the memory of being abandoned before. These wounds shape our self-worth, and unless we choose to face them, they end up defining us. Healing doesn't mean pretending the pain never happened. It means acknowledging it, naming it, and giving yourself permission to release it. Often we avoid this because it feels too heavy, but the truth is the weight is already there, we're just pretending it isn't. Healing is the process of unpacking what you've been carrying, piece by piece, until it no longer controls you. Think about it like this. If you cut your hand and ignore it, the wound will get infected. It doesn't matter if you cover it up, keep it busy, or pretend it's fine. It will eventually demand attention. The same is true for emotional wounds. Time alone doesn't heal them, conscious effort does. Healing requires compassion toward yourself, patience, and the courage to rewrite the story. You don't have to keep telling yourself the same lies that someone else once planted in you. Their words were a reflection of their limitations, not your potential. When you begin to heal, you stop seeing yourself through the lens of the past and start seeing yourself through the truth of the present. You realize you're not the child who was hurt, you're the adult who survived. You're not the rejection you faced, you're the strength that came after. Healing transforms wounds into wisdom, pain into purpose, and scars into stories of resilience. And when that happens, the voice inside that says, "You're not enough," slowly fades away, replaced by the deeper truth, "You were always enough. You just had to heal to remember it." Perfectionism is one of the biggest reasons so many of us don't feel good enough, because no matter what we achieve, it never feels like it's enough. We set impossibly high standards for ourselves, and when we reach them, we move the finish line even further. It becomes an endless race, one where the prize is always out of reach. Deep down, perfectionism isn't about excellence, it's about fear. Fear of not being accepted, fear of being judged, fear of showing our flaws and being rejected for them. And so we polish, we overwork, we overthink, trying to present a version of ourselves that looks flawless. But the more we chase perfection, the further away we move from peace. The danger of perfectionism is that it convinces us we are only as valuable as our achievements. You get the promotion, but immediately think about the next one. You finish the project, but only see the mistakes you made along the way. You create something beautiful, but focus on the tiny imperfections that nobody else notices. Perfectionism robs you of joy because it teaches you to obsess over what's missing instead of celebrating what's already there. The truth is, life isn't designed to be perfect, it's designed to teach. Every mistake, every failure, every misstep carries wisdom that perfection would never allow you to learn. If you lived flawlessly, you would never know resilience, creativity, or growth. Think about some of the most inspiring stories in the world. They don't come from people who lived perfectly, but from people who stumbled, fell, and rose again. Their scars became their strength, not their polished moments. When you let go of perfectionism, you create space for authenticity. You allow yourself to be human, to make mistakes, to laugh at your flaws, and to grow without shame. Instead of asking, "Did I do this perfectly?" you start asking, "Did I give it my best?" That shift alone changes everything, because your best will always be enough, even if it doesn't look flawless. Perfection is not the goal, progress is. Every step forward, no matter how small, matters. Every lesson learned, no matter how painful, adds value. When you stop chasing the illusion of being perfect, you finally start living. You begin to see that your imperfections are not weaknesses, they are the very things that make you unique, relatable, and real. And it's in that realness, not in perfection, that you will finally find the freedom to feel good enough. One of the deepest reasons so many of us don't feel good enough is because we've handed over our self-worth to other people. We've tied our value to their approval, their validation, and their acceptance. From a young age, we're taught to look outside ourselves for reassurance. A teacher's praise, a parent's smile, a friend's approval, it feels like proof that we're worthy. And while recognition can feel good, the problem arises when it becomes the foundation of our self-esteem. because the moment people disapprove, criticize, or simply stay silent, we feel like we've lost all value. Living for external validation is like building your house on shifting sand. It might stand for a while, but the moment the tide changes, everything collapses. If one person says you're amazing, you feel on top of the world. If another person points out a flaw, suddenly you feel like a failure. Your emotions become a roller coaster, constantly rising and falling depending on the opinions of others. And the truth is, no matter what you do, not everyone will like you. You can be the kindest, most talented, most genuine person, and someone will still find fault. If you live for their validation, you'll spend your entire life chasing approval that will never come consistently. The shift happens when you start to realize that validation is not something you earn. It's something you own. You don't need permission to see your worth. You need awareness. External praise should be a bonus, not the foundation. Think of it like this. If someone gives you a gift, you appreciate it, but you don't depend on it to survive. In the same way, if someone praises you, be grateful, but don't depend on it to define who you are. Instead of asking, do they like me, begin asking, do I respect myself? Am I proud of the effort I put in? Did I stay true to my values? These questions shift the focus from others to yourself, where it was always meant to be. When you ground your worth in your integrity, your growth, and your authenticity, no one can take it away from you. The truth is, the people whose approval you're chasing are often too caught up in their own struggles to even notice. Don't let their silence or criticism make you doubt yourself. The most powerful validation you'll ever receive is the moment you look at yourself and say, I am enough. Not because they said so, but because I finally believe it myself. For many of us, the reason we don't feel good enough is because we've forgotten who we truly are. The world tells us that our value comes from what we do, what we own, or how much we achieve. We start to believe that our worth lies in our job title, our bank balance, our relationship status, or the approval we get from others. Over time, we lose touch with the deeper truth, that our value isn't something to be earned, it's something that already exists within us. When you forget who you are, you spend your life chasing things outside of you, hoping they'll finally make you feel complete. The problem with this is that no achievement, no possession, and no external label can fill the emptiness of forgetting yourself. You might reach the career you dreamed of and still feel a void. You might buy the car, the house, or the clothes, and yet the emptiness lingers. You might even surround yourself with people, but deep down you feel alone. That's because you're searching for yourself in places where you were never meant to be found. The truth is, you were born with value. A newborn baby doesn't need to achieve anything to be worthy of love. It simply is. That same truth never leaves you. It only gets buried under expectations, comparisons, and fears. Life's journey isn't about becoming someone else. It's about remembering yourself. It's about peeling away the layers of what society has told you to be and reconnecting with the essence of who you are. When you start remembering who you truly are, you stop attaching your worth to temporary things. You realize that your kindness, your compassion, your resilience, and your ability to love are far more valuable than any title or possession. You understand that the things you thought defined you, your mistakes, your failures, your struggles, were never meant to limit you but to shape you. You begin to live from the inside out, not the outside in, and when you do that, everything shifts. Success no longer feels empty because it's rooted in authenticity. Relationships become more meaningful because you're not hiding behind a mask. Life feels lighter because you're no longer carrying the burden of proving your worth. Remembering who you truly are doesn't just make you feel good enough. It makes you realize you were always more than enough. You just needed to return home to yourself. Every time you tell yourself you're not good enough, remember that it's not the truth. It's a story built from comparison, from unhealed wounds, from chasing perfection, from craving validation, and from forgetting who you are. These stories may have shaped your past, but they don't have to dictate your future. You have the power to write a new narrative, one where you celebrate your own journey instead of comparing it, where you heal the parts of you that still hurt, where you choose progress over perfection, where you anchor your worth inside instead of seeking it outside, and where you live connected to the core of who you truly are. Feeling enough doesn't come from becoming more. It comes from remembering that you already are. The moment you start believing this, you stop searching for worth in places that can't give it, and you begin living a life rooted in confidence, peace, and purpose. And that's when you finally realize you were never lacking. You were always whole, always capable, always enough.